Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, we are going to create a really sweet Valentine card using the new Secret Admirer combo from Waffle Flower. This is the Secret Admirer stamp set. This super cute set is all love and Valentine's themed. We have phones and cute little mice. It's just a really little fun set to play with. I went ahead and stamped several images from this set. Some of the images I didn't bother stamping the whole thing because I'm going to cut off parts of it, and I'm going to do some Copic coloring here. I stamped the images in Memento Tuxedo Black, and I'm now using 3 grays to color these mice in. The grays are on screen so you can follow along. I started with my lightest shade, which is C1, and colored the entire mouse. Then I moved on to C3, which was my medium, and colored about 2/3, and then colored the last third with my darkest, which was C5. I'm going to repeat that process here for this mouse. So starting with C1 for the entire mouse, now moving on to C3, which is my medium, and then adding the bottom third of the shadow with C5, which is my darkest shade. And then I blend it back through all those colors, blending my medium to blend the transition from medium to dark, and then my light to blend the transition from light to medium or medium to light. I'm now moving on to 3 pinks here for the phone. I started again with my light. I almost always start with my lightest shade and then starting to add in my shadow. The phone and really the mice too, everything goes really fast because they're really small images and with some really simple Copic coloring. So I just finished up the handset here, doing a little cleanup with my Zero, my color splendor, and I finished the ear with 2 really light reds, and then I'm going to add the cheeks here, back with some colors I used before. I started with RV10, was too light, so then I moved to RV21. Just added a little rosy cheek to the mice. Now I'm going to move on and do some trimming here. So I picked these large mice just because I thought they worked a little bit better with the telephone, and for my little scene they've kind of filled the space a little bit more. So I had to remove the box of chocolates. Even though it's so cute, it just doesn't really work for them. I want them to hold the phone instead. And I'm going to remove the cord here on both of these handsets. I'm going to create my own kind of cord. I'm sure you saw in the first picture at the beginning of the video, I kind of use a ribbon to create like a dimensional cord. And I'm also going to remove the cord on the receiver as well. And now that I've done all this trimming, I have these little like black spots, which are like the remainder of the image left on my border. And I'm going to use one of my favorite tricks here is just grab a white gel pen and just cover it up. A white gel pen is really great when you have these little spots that you need to cover up, like when you're doing alterations like this, and you don't want to have to bother with masking. So I could have masked this and could have avoided this, but honestly this was a lot easier than creating a mask. So I just finished up with the last handset and the little mouse as well, where he was holding the chocolates. Now I'm moving on to some ink blending. So I have a red panel here that is 8.5 by 3.5. This is actually going to fit the front of my card. I'm making a slimline card today, which is a nice long rectangular card, really kind of a fun design. It works really well for kind of the story I'm telling with the card front. And I'm doing a little ink blending here. Started with Barn Door Distress ink, blended towards leaving the center open. I want that to be lightest, so I didn't blend in the center, kind of blended from the edges inward but stopped towards the center. And then I finished up with my darkest shade, which was Fired Brick. Now I'm moving on to a heart. I die cut this heart out of some white cardstock using Waffle Flower's Nesting Hearts die. And I'm going to start with Waffle Flower's Tickled Pink and just kind of ink blend almost all over this card, also creating a nice little gradation. And then I'm moving on to this Color Box pigment ink. This is called Rose. It's just really a nice pink color, and it really matches my Copics that I picked out to color the telephone with. So I'm just getting my bearings here, kind of figuring out where I want my splatters to go. I want them to be concentrated in the center. I have white Gansai Tambi watercolor, and I mixed it up with some water, and I'm just going to load my brush up and then tap my finger on the brush to create these little splatters. I want these little splatters to be in the center of my card front, not towards the sides. So that's where I'm concentrating my splatters. Then I decided the white wasn't enough, so I grabbed some of that Color Box pink pigment ink, pressed it out onto my Watermuna mat, added some water to it, and then splattered some of that onto the front, but that wasn't very noticeable, so then I went back to my Gansai Tambi watercolor and splattered some more white little speckles all over the front. I'm going to set this aside to dry, but it'll create a nice background and really add some interest to the card front. So here is my bow wire. This is what I'm going to use to create the cord. This is actually designed, this product's designed to help you make bows, but it was perfect for what I need it to do. One, it's kind of silver and I think it works well with the phone, but most importantly, it has a wire in it so it will hold its shape. So first thing I'm going to do is going to pull out a lot of length of this. Probably it's about 3 feet worth of this bow wire. I'm going to find the center, so just by folding it in half, making sure the ends meet up, I'll find the center, and once I find the center, that's where I'm going to start to form my sentiment. So not only does this bow wire create the cord for the telephone, but it also is going to be how I communicate my sentiment, and I'm just bending the wire here and forming it to say love. So keeping it really simple, and I go back and forth and tweak this a lot just to kind of get the spacing right and make sure it's really legible, that you can really read the love, and also that it fits within that heart, because that heart's really going to frame it and I think help to make it really show up and be really visible and kind of hopefully make it really obvious that it says a word and it's not just this crumbled up wire. So I'm almost done tweaking this sentiment here, just kind of fine tuning, making sure the spacing looks really nice. And now that I'm happy with it, I'm now going to coil up the wire here on the right side just by wrapping it around the end of my paintbrush. This is going to create that beautiful kind of spiral coil look that telephone cords have. And I'm going to repeat that process here on the other side. Just wrap it right around that paintbrush again until I get to the very end, and then I'll just slide it right off. And that will complete part of my cord for my phone. I'm going to set that aside and now move on to the next step. So now I'm going to kind of put my phone and mice together. First thing I do is just adhere all the die cuts together. So I've grabbed some Tombow Mono multi-liquid adhesive here and just put some little dots down and glued the mouse down onto the receiver. Then I will add some glue to their hands and glue the handset to their hands. And then I'll turn over my little mouse and phone, and I'm going to grab a wire that I coiled up. So this is an additional little small bit of wire, bow wire that I coiled up just like you saw me do with my sentiment piece. And I'm using some foam tape here to kind of hold it in place on the back side of my mouse, making sure that the cord goes from the receiver to the handset. And once I finish that one, I'll now repeat that process for this second mouse again, turning him over, grabbing one of the ends here and using a little piece of foam tape to hold it in place. And then I'll attach the top end to the handset with, again, a little piece of foam tape. And then I'll just trim off any excess that might be there, and that will actually complete my two little mice and telephone. All I have to do is kind of really put this whole card together. So the first thing I do is adhere my red panel to the front of my card using some Tombow Mono multi-liquid adhesive. Just cover the whole backside with that glue, and then just center it and press it down, give it a little hold till that glue sets up. And once that glue sets, we will grab our heart here, add some glue to the back side, then center it and press it right down onto the card front here. Now that I've got my heart in place, I'm going to grab my sentiment, and I'm going to use these glue dots to adhere this, get this wire to stay in place. These are the mini dots, so they're the really small kind, and even though they are the tiniest kind, I still cut them even smaller. I actually cut them in half or even thirds. So I'm going to grab my scissors here and cut this tiny little glue dot in half, and then I'm going to place it on the back side of the wire. And the nice thing about these glue dots is they basically stick to themselves, so you can kind of like almost mold it to be only where the wire is. You can kind of press it like clay and move that glue dot to be exactly behind the wire, and not beyond it at all, which is kind of cool. Worked out really well, and they're super sticky, so they hold it in place. So I'm going to continue grabbing some glue dots here, kind of cutting them down, making them smaller, and using them to really hold this love exactly where I want it to be, and keeping it kind of flush to the card so it's not kind of popping off and looking kind of strange. Now, before I move on to attaching the the rest of the cord to the receiver, I need to attach my phone down. So I went ahead and attached my mouse and phone down, just removed the backing on the foam tape and stuck it down, and then I kind of stretched out that cord that attaches to the sentiment and then added a glue dot to the end and then just attached, kind of tucked that in under the phone and kind of attached it right to the phone or to the card front. Either one is fine. And then I'm just going to kind of stretch and adjust just so I get that wire the way I want it. Now I'm going to repeat that process for the other half here. First, stick down my mouse and phone just by removing the backing on the foam tape. Then I will grab a little foam dot, put it on the end of that coiled wire, and then stick it down, and then again just adjust and kind of play till I get that cord exactly how I want it to be, so it kind of frames the mice a little bit and has some nice little curls and little bends. So now I have these heart gems. I've had these for a very long time. I actually got them from Dollar Tree probably like 7 years ago. And now I'm just going to add them here and there just to add a little sparkle and a little bit more dimension. And again, it just kind of fills up the space a little bit. And once I add all those hearts, I'm done. And now I'll hold it to the camera so you guys can get a good look at this finished card. I really like how this card turned out. These cute little images from this Sweet Admirer set is just adorable, and they inspired me so much to create this cord, and love that it was all, my whole idea came from this stamp set, and I was just so grateful I found this bow wire that worked just so well for the cord and the sentiment, and I'm just so happy that everything was able to come together in the end. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If you want any more information on the products I used, please check out the links below. And if you like this video, I would so love for you to subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram or check out my blog. I'll share those links in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.